Hello everyone, my name is Bridget and today we're going to be talking about how to create more presence in your life, enjoy the moment, and live with no regrets. The spiritual ideal of living in the present moment is challenging. Let's face it, it's easier said than done. And so what are some ways that we can move into this in a way that's actually sustainable and a way that works? And this is a trick that's really worked for me. So the idea, the big picture idea is, and then I'll get into all different kinds of examples or way that you can introduce this into your life, but is living in the season in which you exist. Okay, so let me explain a bit more about this. So the idea is that there's all kinds of cycles of energy that we're experiencing in our lives. This can actually be the different earth seasons, right? So right now it's summer moving into fall where I am. This can be the different seasons or stages of your life. So this might be that you're a child. This might be that then you're a maiden or a knight, or then that you're a prince or becoming a woman or a man or becoming an elder. So there's different stages of your actual life. There's stages of the cycles of the seasons. There's also stages of where you're at maybe in your personal life. Maybe you're going towards creating huge projects, or maybe you're more on the end of receiving and needing to recover and regenerate depending where you are. So there's a lot of different areas and ways that we can look at where we are presently in the different energy cycles of life. And this is so helpful, because when you realize where you're at and then you actually go deeper into that space, like you indulge, you live it out to its fullest, then what happens is when the next stage comes, you're ready for it. And then what happens then is there's no regrets about the past, because you full on lived that to its greatest extent. And then also you're present where you are. You're not seeking for the future, because it feels so good and natural to move to this next stage. So I want to get into some different examples, but why this is relevant is in our culture, what is often taught, and even in spirituality, is that we live in this perpetual state of I am the Energizer Bunny, that it's this perpetual summer. Like when I lived in Los Angeles, for instance, it literally is perpetual summer. It feels almost eerie, because there isn't a change, there is, but not a distinct change in actual physical seasons. And so what that creates in the mentality, and this is kind of a universal overriding program in the culture right now, is this energy of it's perpetual summer, and I'm just always happy and always energized, or I'm always going for that next thing, and I'm always young, always vital, and it's this energy of always the maiden, always energized, always gotta keep going. And that doesn't work. That leads to burnout. That leads to the destruction of the earth. That leads to lack of balance. And it also lacks the nuances, the richness, the flavors, the stages, the seasons that life brings us. And so I think one of the reasons why it's scary to maybe let go of this and maybe rest in needing to relax, or also indulging in whatever the stage of life you're in is that if you actually let go of this program of the perpetual happiness or this perpetual thing that needs to keep going, is that you won't make it. You won't make it to your destination, whether that's a destination of success, or if that's just a destination of the spiritual path and being on it, if I'm not happy, if I'm not doing this all the time, I'm not gonna make it. And that's actually false. Because when you look at nature, and this is one of my favorite places, I'm in Arizona. It kind of feels like Hawaii, but I'm in Arizona. And when you look at nature, it has seasons for a reason. And when it's time to bloom, it frickin' blooms, and it is magic. And when it's time to rest, it rests, and it knows that it's time for that, and it takes it all, right? It's not like you see a flower trying to bloom in winter. Do you know what I mean? It goes with the flow of the energy. So it's really critical to do this. And when we do this, we are just enraptured by presence. We are where we're meant to be in that moment. And we're not trying to be something else or trying to be somewhere else. And so acknowledging these stages and working with them is highly helpful to presence. So I'm going to give you a few examples now for me so that you can relate it into your life. I find examples are very helpful. I'm going to read my little book. So I'm moving into this stage right now in my life phase, moving into the stage of woman, right? I'm 33 years old, and I just feel this fullness, this vitality, this strength, and this hashtag adulting excitement for my stage of life. And a lot of people I know in our world like kind of almost resist becoming adults or these kinds of energies, and I'm relishing it. And I look at younger women who are in their 20s, and I'm super stoked for them. And I don't know, there's not envy or jealousy or wishing, regrets, wishful thinking that I could have done something else, because I lived out my maiden phase so amazingly. I traveled the world, I had all kinds of experiences, I played out many different things, and so I really soaked up the richness of that stage of life. And so naturally what then just happens is you then just evolve into this next stage. It's a natural progression. I'm not trying to hold on to the past, and I'm not trying to go into the future. It's just a natural progression. So some people, for instance, me included for many years, was always chasing summer. So that means that when you're kind of like a digital entrepreneur, you always are in summer somewhere on the planet. So I didn't experience winter for at least 4 or 5 years. I would always be in Mexico or Hawaii or somewhere like that. And so that I could always enjoy the sun. I could always enjoy the vitality and the richness of what that season had to offer. And what started to happening is this imbalance in the sense that each phase of life, each phase of the season has a particular purpose for a particular reason. And fall and winter bring incredible regeneration and renewal that then actually gives you more energy in spring and in summer to create, to manifest, to enjoy, to experience that vitality. But without the winter and the fall, you can't have as big and bright of a summer and spring. And so it's this flow and this cycle. So really taking in the most of each physical season, and this can also be moon cycle. There's a lot of different cycles and seasons. Really taking in summer, like for instance right now, second week of September, and I didn't quite get enough of summer. Usually I'm outside much more, camping much more, and I didn't as much because of quarantine and some personal things I was going through. So I'm soaking up the last of summer so that I'm ready to really go into fall. Another prime example of what we're talking about right now is what women experience every month. So man, whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter, but this idea is highly relevant. So with women, I've experienced this a lot, where it's this idea, especially when women bleed, men, bear with me, is to just like stuff in a tampon, put on a pad, and just keep going. Keep exercising, keep working, so that you're at this consistent energy like all month long for that 28-day cycle. And it doesn't work that way. It's not meant to work that way. And so what happens is this kind of fear. It's like, well, will I not be, and this is my fear, but I think it's also a greater cultural fear, is like, okay, well, if I'm not doing as much on the luteal phase or that progesterone phase of the month or when I'm bleeding, then will I be able to succeed as much as other people? Or will I be able to evolve as much as other people who are really going for it, or have as good a body because I'm not exercising as much, or whatever it is? And what I've realized over time, and that's why I'm making this video, is that the more that I rest on my moon, when I'm bleeding, which is the same as winter, when you're resting in winter in that season, or maybe it's that stage of life. Maybe it's your winter where you're needing to renew and relax before you're going on to another project or something else. If you really rest in that stage, there's magic in it, and it's not just energetic, like, oh, renewal. There's also something deeply psychological and internal that happens, spiritual, so that then you have this depth to you and this robustness that then creates even more bloom, even more blossom in these other phases, in these other seasons. And so even then, when you go into the estrogenic phase, or you're ovulating, or it's spring and summer, or whatever the experience is, you actually have more energy, more creative ability to go to that next level. So you're getting the idea. And all of this ties back to the idea of presence. Because when you relish, when you are so bewitched and taken over by where you're at, stage of life, the season, your environment, all these different things, that leads to natural presence because you're soaking it up. And that's where the enjoyment comes. And then when you do that, there is no past and there is no future because you lived out the past. You're like, I'm good. And you're so enjoying this moment, acknowledging what it is and where you're at, that you don't need to necessarily focus on the future. And this has been a huge lesson for me during quarantine and letting go of control, because one of the big things is I would live very much in the future, not as much in the past, but really letting me be where I was, particularly this year, which was pretty much like crying, very internal, on the couch for a good part of the year, and just letting me be in my post-breakup energy and letting me be in that phase has then actually created so much more depth that I didn't know was possible to then go into this next stage of creating and not needing to bypass it and be like, oh no, I'm fine, and just keep going. And so even if you're at like a place that doesn't maybe seem as good, maybe it is depression, which is a space of decompression and going inside, going deeper, going internal, resourcing on another level, or whether it's sadness or grief or whatever you're experiencing, whether it's joy, just enjoy where you are in that moment, honor it, know that its flavor has a place in the big picture, in the wholeness of the path of your life. It has a place, it has value, it has validity. Even though it might not be as pretty or what people say you should be experiencing, it is critical to the holistic rainbow of who you are. So that is my message for the day. I'm going to put on some sunscreen and keep on enjoying the sun. But I know a lot of you guys request the outdoor videos. You like my outdoor videos, which I get it. So I'll do my best to be doing more of them. But I wanted to bring through that transmission to assist you as we go into different seasons of the year and different seasons of life, seasons of humanity, to really enjoy where we're at, to bring more presence and depth into every moment. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Be sure to comment below, let me know, let everyone know where you're at in your stages of life. I think that that'd be really interesting to share with the community. Be sure to like, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell button so you get notifications every time I do new videos. And I will see you next time with another one.